Hello and welcome, guys, to Cats Video Production. We continue our broadcast for today, and it's 3:03. It's a live broadcast, Easter time, and so the guest in our studio today, Lynn Sue. Lynn, hi. It was not long time to no see you. How is everything?
Everything's great. How are you? And hi, everyone.
Yes, hi. So it is not really long time for the election on November 2022. We know everything. It's very important election for us, and so we want to know what's going on in Republican world now in the Republican establishment. Tell us what's going on. Tell us the latest news in Republican words and the main news. Um, Share that with us. What's going on?
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not that tight with the Republican Party, right? But I do have a Republican opponent now in this district, which is 106. Um, so I just found out that he was an opponent like I think, yeah, last week, and apparently, that's where I'm at right now, and the election is going to be August 23rd. So it's very important that, like, if you had been registered as an NPA, I would suggest that you register as a Republican so that you can vote in the primary. In the primary, usually very few people show up, and that's where actually all the candidates get chosen. You can find out who is running for, the district, and you can find out more about me. You can ask me questions, just to find out and make sure that you are represented, that you are, you have selected who you want to have in office. So that's basically what I have to update you in terms of my election. And now back to you.
But this is we spoke about that last time. Remember, if your opponent is going to be Republican or it's going to be Democrats, Republican is not really good because you both Republicans, and the people who's going to be vote for us also Republicans, and the voters just be divided by some in some partially divided between you and your opponent. Uh,
Hmm.
and in my opinion, it's not really good thing for Republicans itself. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you, but the good thing is, like, the I believe in consumer having choices, right? The market being open. So, if he wants to run against me because he thinks he's a better opponent, then I think it's absolutely great that he enters the race. Like, I think it's a free country. This is where I believe that, like, a common person like me, just a regular Lynn Sue, right, on the street. Parents are immigrants. I work, like everybody else does, 9 to 5, and sometimes even more. Um, I just, I'm a normal person. I make normal income like everybody else, right? I get my paychecks. Um, yeah, and all of that. It's like that is that's the beauty of America. We have this country that is allowing a normal person like me, to represent people who are like me, and to be in the government and offering and creating legislation that works for the people. So, whoever wants to run against me, I know that it's kind of a hassle, right, for me especially, because we do have when we have an opponent, that means that we have to raise even more money. We
Mhm.
have to raise even more money to win the primary. And with that said, that means that, like, we have less ammunition to fight against the Democrats. And also, anything that was revealed during the primary season, right? Like, let's say I'm attacked for something, they are attacked for something. All of that would be definitely, will be used against us, right? Instead, I was actually planning on, like, sitting there in the primary, waiting to see the Democrats fight each other, and then, taking all that information and using it against them in the general.
Exactly, yes, and that's what's going on, and that is not as right good because the Democrats, they I think that they do this in advance in the head, because when the situation with Republican Republican have to fight against a Republican, it's exactly the same as you told before.
Hmm.
So, do you
This
think?
is there's a question. He's so funny. He said so much. So how much was he paid to be your opponent? Um,
Because yes, because it's like you told like a Cinderella story. I'm a regular, so
a
I'm
Cinderella
go to
story.
yes, yeah, because it looks like and people does not believe when some go into the politicians like in a regular, and this is could you just tell a little bit more about is it really possible? As your example show us, it
Mm.
is possible. Yes.
Well, there are, I think, there are things that, let's say, if you're not very well liked, right? I'm pretty sure, like there was like people are trying to like throw in another opponent just to attract them. However, in this instance, I haven't done any research on whether this person was actually propped up against me. I don't think that it was because he himself has a lot of money. He is a very wealthy person from New York who had moved down to Miami. He initially wanted to run for a city commission seat in Miami Beach, and he wasn't qualified because like some residency issues. But I mean, he said that he threw in $250,000 into the race of his own money.
Hmm.
I don't even I mean, I raise money and I have about 50. So,
That's
I mean,
even more the annual income, yeah, if for the regular guy, 200
yeah.
something like that, yeah.
So, I don't know, right? I don't know. I'm pretty sure like, he probably has some ideas. He said that he decided to run because, there was a Democrat candidate who mentioned, so David Richardson, who's the Democrat candidate. Um, he mentioned that he's running because of the Don't Say Gay bill. And I'm thinking like, there is no Don't Say Gay bill. There's no Don't Say Gay bill. Yeah, it's something that he made up. So, um, it's made up by the narrative on the left, and people just make stuff up. So he said that he's running because of that, and I think like if he even read the bill or if people who would listen to him actually read the bill. So, this opponent of mine, the Republican opponent, said that he was upset that this person decided to run on the Don't Say Gay bill. I think we need to find out more. He just recently filed early in March. We just have to find out more about him and see
Mhm,
what he's really up to. What I love about him was that, let me tell you something that's positive, right? Because he actually gave a positive vibe to me. When we ran into each other, we didn't realize that we were running for the same district. So when I told him, I spoke on stage that I was running for 106. He said he was also running for 106, and he didn't realize that there was already a Republican candidate there. Um, and he said that he was very gracious and very like saying that we will be fighting alongside each other against Democrats, not against each other and against Democrats. So that's nice of him. I don't want
here's
to.
the plan. Alice Williams got questions. Lynn, isn't a tactic which is splitting Republican votes and will end up in the victory of the Democrat? So this is the good point for Democrats. Yes, when we're fighting between Republicans and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what's your
So this
opinion?
is the so this is actually well, the whole point is that like when while we're busy destroying each other in the primary, right, trying to one up each other. So that's part of the reason why I mentioned some good things about my opponent just now, just so that you know that like we're not going to be killing each other off, just to win a fight here. Like people get to look at us Republicans, right? If we're, I mean, I'm assuming all of us here are Republicans. So the Republicans, even if you're not, so the Republicans that are listening to this, it's important that you go and change your voter registration. It's important that you, listen to what each candidate is up to. What is it that we want to cause? What is it that we want to create? What is it that we are going to do for you? Right? Like if you like that part, then you vote for the person that is standing for that. Right? I could tell you clearly, like right now, for me, I am all about parental choice in schools, in education. I want to create a universal savings account for all the students in from K through 12 for all Floridians. That education scholarship program will actually go with the student wherever it is that they decide to go to school. I want to increase the options that we have for all of the healthcare providers and insurance companies that are available in the state. I also want to make sure that like we take back some of the taxes and all that, that we're trying to repeal some of the taxes. I have a promise with Floridians that I will have three, like by the end of May, you'll hear three legislations that I want to repeal and three new ones that I want to put in. So those are things that I want to share with you preliminarily, and then like I'm planning on having coffee talks. So I will be at your local coffee place and we can meet in person in the morning, have some coffee together. We could also do a Zoom call every other week, right? This is all in the plan so that I want you to get to know me and know that you can reach out to me whenever it is um, that you want to see a difference being made. And if it's within my principle, I will definitely do it, or I'll find a solution that will actually support what you're up to and what it is that I am principled in. So anyway, back to you.
Yeah, you
That
mentioned.
was a long answer.
No, actually, it's good, but we got message from Mihalich. He said just for the additional, somehow I didn't trust him. Someone from New York, and he didn't know someone already there. Smell fishy, and so I want to ask you. You mentioned school in Florida. We have LGBT law signed by Ron DeSantis.
hmm
No one else but the Florida. What is your personal opinion about that law?
Okay, so I have before this law came about, right? I have a lot of friends that are in the LGBTQ group. I often ask them, like, when did they find out? When did they find out that they did not like have that traditional feeling towards, the traditional genders? Um, a lot of them that we've discovered, right, was that they did discover it after 8 or 9 years old. And the cutoff that DeSantis created was he didn't want the intention was not to ban LGBTQ, IA plus divide sign. I don't know. There's so many symbols now, right? He didn't want to do that. But the thing is, like, we shouldn't rob the innocence off of our children. There's only so many years that they get to be in that innocence, and we get to preserve that. Like, it's so important that we have, allow children to be children, right? Allow them to discover things of their own, and then, like, when they start to question those things, then we offer the solutions to it, but we don't preempt it from, like, first grade, or elementary, or what, kindergarten, right? And start telling children about, like, oh, you don't have to be a girl, you can be a boy, you can be a boy, you don't have to be a boy, you don't, you know what I
Or
mean, like.
something, you have at least 80 choices. Yeah. Asexual and so many
Oh
people.
my goodness, yeah.
Individuality, so but the TV propaganda says different way. They says the DeSantis, just do the war against the LGBT people, which is not true. Absolutely, and you mentioned that you explain everything. It's just about be innocent for the childrens who really small to even talk about
Yeah.
sexuality or some sex
hmm
conversation, or how the children prefer to create the personal sexual life. It is too early to talk about that, I think, and you support me, I think, about that. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, so okay, let's move forward. Do you have endorsement from Republicans? Because I'm asking you because I know, without mentioning any names, the last weekend, I believe it was last weekend, it was like a dinner with President Trump, and
hmm
so people who came, they have to pay for that. and it's about $25,000 for visit, and it's a huge money. It is huge money, and I want to ask you, if you got 25,000, are you ready to pay for endorsement from Trump for 25K? Or you just try to avoid this thing and try to go and and explain everybody you are average girl, you go to work like everybody else from 9 to 5. Really, serious. I think that's horrible when establishment does not support local Republicans who run in for the election, or even support it for some amount of the money. I think that's not right.
Mm. I think there was like a different viewpoint on that one, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Please
yeah.
explain.
So yeah. So how I would say that was like, okay,
I
so
I understand. Listen, donation is very good because everybody try to make a donation, try to have a money
yeah,
because
yeah,
without money, campaign is nothing.
doesn't work.
Everybody
Yeah.
know. Even your campaign without
Hmm.
raise some money also nothing because you have to pay for everything. For
Yeah.
election, for the
Hmm.
people who support you, people who go to the voter polls and everything. It's very expensive. It's
Oh yeah,
very expensive.
it's very expensive. The
But
worst part is
even
like,
but
mhm.
even that establishment, I think, have to support the people who is or the level under you, because it's more important local elections. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, now here's the thing. I'm as a state representative, right? We're the lowest I think like the in ranking, right? Like there's state senate, then there's, it goes up and up. So basically what I'm saying to that is like the state representative being, first of all, we're in a Republican dominant house already. Right, there's 78 Republicans in the House right now out of 120, and then we have the other, 42 where that are Democrats. So pretty much we kind of have the majority. So it's not like a priority to try to win or flip a seat. I think the reason why I would want to win or flip a seat is because like it's so hard to see Democrats in a Republican House trying to pass anything for people and their constituents in their district. If you look at historically, um, Joseph Geller, who is an amazing, representative, the things that he legislates, like hardly anything had passed in 8 years. So that means that the people in this district were being neglected for 8 years. Now, whether it be because he doesn't know how to work across the aisle, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I just know that he's very intelligent, he's very smart, he's very good at what he does. People love him, but like he doesn't get the stuff that people need to get done here done. So one of the best reasons why anybody should elect another Republican to go up there and represent them is because like Republicans will somewhat, in some way listen to another Republican, or at least the way that we legislate the law would fall under the same type of, the same way that we would do things, so we could get things done in a different way versus getting it done by just, the way that maybe the Democrats would like to get it done.
Mhm.
So a long story short, I mean, I'm actually digressing. So I wanted to talk to you. Like you asked me about
Your
if I had
personal
twenty five
25
thousand
grand.
dollars. Yeah, if
Yeah.
I had $25,000, would I
I
do
mean,
that?
somebody have more than $200 for election. I think if you got this amount of money, you can share fair share your 10% of the your election, and but got endorsement instead of that.
Okay, if I had $25,000, would I get an endorsement from Trump? I would not. I think that money is, it doesn't grow on trees for me. I don't know if it does for other people. Maybe for my opponent who donated, who put in 250,000. But for me, it's hard-earned money, right? I would rather, on top of that, my husband would probably kill me. But for a dinner, yeah. But anyway,
That's
25,
right. Just only for one evening dinner, it's about
yeah.
1 or 2 hours, or no, maybe 3 hours. But it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It's 25 grand just for endorsement. And people, everything spin around about money. That situation is horrible, crazy world. The people don't believe you if you just came from nobody. Just we both came from nobody, and we try to explain how thing works, and people do not believe, and they'd
No.
rather believe to people who just have money enough to get endorsement or got some TV platform with a lot of the propaganda and everything. See what Alice Williams asked us. Let's talk about the lie, the media, and the Democrats support that more than 25 grand at least. It's $1 million or $1 trillion. They call this law. But she mentioned this law that don't say
Don't say
gay,
gay.
yeah, which the complete is blatant lie. The government does not have this definition in the law. But in case of the propaganda media who works always for everything for Democrats completely, just do whatever what is White House agenda is, and we everything know that even if it's local level, the pretty much the same principle. It doesn't change anything.
Well, there's only like six sources of news, right? Basically, like we have 10,000 some channels. I don't know, thousands and thousands of channels. They're all owned by six. And then, like, I remember back in high school, I attempted to do not high school, sorry, in college.
Mhm.
I was at UCLA and I was doing a film and television course, and I received an internship from Turner Entertainment, which is the mother or
CNN, yeah.
yeah, which is CNN. So I remember that I cut all their entertainment news as a producer, like, cutting the news, and I don't know, anyway. It was all the same. It was all the same that was going to be sent out to all these different channels, and I assert that the news that we have is also the same. We see the same clips, right? It's the same clips. It goes to every channel. It just depends. It changes the anchor that is local to that channel that will talk about it. So, and basically, there's a script already done. So they already know what they're supposed to say.
That's right.
Hmm.
Do you think that's way when we turn on like North Korea? You know probably about North Korea a lot because it's a horrible thing. I think that's a brain trauma for everybody who lives in North Korea because you cannot treat off that. You cannot change the situation. There is no way to escape from, and you have to live there. There is no cure.
No, no. So I'm not clear what your question is. Some people are blaming Trump about North Korea.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
No, I mean, when our TV propaganda turn on like North Korea, because it's pretty much, I think it's moving to this direction. I think when we just have only one opinion, if we have no criticism to what your White House doing right now, we supported only Democrats. We sharing fraud bullshit about Republicans. It's a way to North Korea TV, and it's a way to North Korea politicians way because there is no check and balances here, and we just lose it every day, every moment. We see what's going on in social media. If you just posted different opinion, you're gonna be blocked. You're gonna be just removed, like Donald Trump was removed from social media, and everybody support that decision. And
mhm.
there is even no question regarding that.
Oh, okay. Media in America right now is so corrupt, and like I said, because there's six sources. If you go overseas and the other overseas does not have their own investigative, news reporters, they will also be parroting the same narrative over. I mean, I have been, my husband occasionally checks out like all the news in Thailand, and basically, like, that's what they do. They just parrot the same thing that is being, propagandized here. Um, I think this it's the fastest way to get rid of this is, there are going to be lawmakers who are going to support the media because it benefits them, obviously. So if you have a majority of Democrats, and then like you think about this, like Trump had the majority. We didn't do anything about social media when we had the chance to, right? Like for example, take away their Section 230, right, out of their rights. So a lot of things that didn't get done. When the Democrats come in and they capitalize on it. Like no kidding. Like this is what's happening right now. Nobody's going to do anything. The only way that we could do that is stop patronizing them. Like stop turning on their channels and stop watching them. Watch more independent news, like things that will give you actual a different point of view from whatever the mainstream media is. And that's the only way to do it. So yeah, whatever, you want to post anything about anything bad. I mean, even right now with the whole Russian thing, right? Russian
Even
Ukraine
truth,
thing.
even truth, not actually bad about somebody. Even truth. You mentioned Section 230. It's
Mhm.
been before Trump, yes, and the Trump tried to just stop that in the end of this 4 years period of time of the
Right.
presidency time, but it does not happen, and now we see that platform, social media platforms, they support only Democrats, as they do ahead of, and they supported only agenda of the Democrats. There is one more question about the TV. Speaking of media, does any of the local media support you personally in your quest to win in the district? I think the answer is obvious, but anyway,
The answer is two cats.
yes. Thanks.
Well, I do have a couple of organizations that have supported me already. There's a crime unit organization. Also, I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but like the district covers Miami Beach. Miami
Mhm.
Beach has a lot of crime. We see a lot. Like I think a couple, like within the week, like there were 3 shootings. You know, and obviously, like whatever it is that's
That was
being
local, the local guy
local,
involved, or local? Mhm.
yeah, local in Miami Beach. So,
How many
you know,
tourists involved in this shooting?
actually, I don't know the details. I was like, I was looking through it really quickly and then saw
Mhm.
that, and I was like, oh gosh, this is, it's 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 the where there's tourists, there's an attraction for crime, right? Because like people will take advantage of the tourists who don't know their way around, and all kinds of stuff. So what I'm saying is to that is like there has to be some kind of safety like measure that we can take, and obviously like that hasn't been done. Um, there's some other organizations that have endorsed me, like the American Patriot Community has offered their endorsement. There's several. I think the Mike Essen show also endorsed me. So, I mean, there's several. So it's great. It's just not mainstream media. Like you wouldn't see NBC endorsing me anytime soon.
That's only for Democrats. See, when you're Democrats, you got more privilege. You got
Uh-huh.
propaganda TV outlets, media
Propaganda
outlets. You
TV.
got everything. Yeah, and even politician establishment working differently. They support. They just close eye. Even if you got some criminals, it's okay. It's okay. They said we have to win, and after that we have to discuss about what's happened. What's happened.
Hmm.
This is not really cool.
No,
This
I
is
like what you mentioned about that. This is something that I also want to, I want to make a difference in, because I think that the reason why people like me don't often run for office is because they often see people who are already well connected, people who are already incumbents and all that other stuff. So they would choose to run for office, or they have to know somebody, or they have to be nominated by somebody, or somebody would want them to run in order for them to win. But the reason is because like if you look at we have term limits in Florida, but they're not term limits like that I understand. My term limit is when you're a president, you can only be president for 2 terms and that's it. Whether
mhm.
it's connected, not connected, that it's not consecutive or non-consecutive, like let's say for example President Trump becomes president. He can become president again, right? For another 4 years. But for a state representative, like what we have now, we have David Richardson, who has been in office 6 years already, which is 3 terms. He has one more term, but it's not true. If he waits 2 years, he could do another 4-year term. I mean, sorry, 2-year. for 4 terms. So he could be there for another 8 years.
8
Then he
years.
takes another 2 years off, and then he can come back again and do the same thing. This to me is not term limits. When I talk about term limits, I'm thinking about like you're never coming back to this office again, right? And you can see a lot of the state representatives that are in office right now that supposedly are termed out and then they come back in again. So it just keeps rotating. We are rotating the same water back in and back and forth. So there's a lot of this going on that I think we get to do that. We also would love to see, like, I know that you guys have a lot of municipalities and that don't have term limits. Maybe there's something that we could put in there that would actually support or forward the city's agenda.
When we're talking about that, I remember Nancy Pelosi, how long she is in a
Ugh.
speaker, yeah, and she is
She was in office since her eyebrows were here, and now they're here.
absolutely, yes. And so many of them, they already got nothing new ideas how to improve our life, improve everything what we got right now. They just destroy everything what we got, and they have no, really the energy crisis. See, even nothing to do with the Green Deal, and also we have so many crises of them. But Biden, he told, okay, the inflation. So this is because of Putin. This is not because of me. I think this is just crazy speech I listened from the president. If he is just because everybody talking, this is not my president. That's why I just took president words in a quote. Just like a president, like a president. But what do you really think? He's destroy our fundamental of the country, everything. And now we got his nominee. Supreme Court new was hearing is already. Today is the last day. This is the left judge instead of the another left judge. I think we got no choice. We have to switch. But Miss Jackson, she's young, but she, also not really, I think, good judge for Supreme Court. What is your personal opinion about that?
Mm, um, however qualified, she is, right? It, it Biden killed the whole thing by saying he had to select a black woman for the Supreme Court. If
Yeah.
he had thrown in a bunch of names and then, I mean, like, let's say if I was,
She isn't even know the word woman, in the hearing she said, I don't know what the word meaning is.
and instead of just throwing a bunch of people in and looking for like, choosing someone upon merit. I mean, this is what happened last time. If everybody remembered when he chose his vice president, he said he wants a vice president of a minority, right? He wants someone who's black, and so he chose Kamala Harris. I mean, that already turned out pretty bad already. Apparently, we're not looking from the pool of qualified people. We have 320 million people in this country. We have a lot of scholars and people who are believers of the Constitution. And I don't know why we have to choose someone because they're a certain color. It's like, whoa, okay. Like, can we look for someone who's qualified? This is there are just 9 seats in this entire country out of 320 million people, right? Cut half of them because they're too young or too old to qualify. Let's just go with 160 million people. We cannot find one person. Like, it's just unbelievable. And the whole point is that, like, they do get to be. I believe that our constitution is our constitution. It's like it's a standalone. It has no left or right stand, right?
Yeah.
We had Whig parties, we had all kinds of different parties, and this Constitution was always there. It wasn't like there when it was there before the Democratic Party existed. It was there before the Republican Party existed. This is our Constitution. It stands. This is the pole that holds up it's like the pillars that hold up the house, right? This is what's holding up America. We need someone who is a constitutionalist, a scholar in that aspect, who can interpret that, looking from, like interpret the law and interpret the Constitution according to how it was meant or written to mean. Like when we have our like our constitutional right to carry guns, like our Second Amendment. This is not with the times.
Or even First Amendment.
Right, or even First Amendment, right? This is like supposed to be everlasting. Like it's I think there's a word called agalico. So this is like an everlasting thing. It's true no matter what time frame you're in. We are going to always have our freedom of speech. And all of this was standing behind the fact that we do not want one person to be dominating the entire country, to rule or dictate us. We want this country to be ruled by the people, and the people have the say, but we elect representatives who actually go up there and represent them. So, with that said, like it's just like for me, selecting someone from a race is a bad start to begin with. Automatically shut down on what I want to listen to that person, because I'm not even, you know what I mean? Like I would listen to them, but I would listen to them from a filter
Mhm.
versus like really choosing like this is the most qualified person. And instead, like, if we're going to talk about like having a minority in Supreme Court, did people forget about Clarence Thomas? We have Clarence
Oh yeah,
Thomas.
this is the good example. Yeah,
But do you
really.
remember
He's
how he was
73 years
grilled?
old. Yeah, already. By
No,
the
he was
way.
grilled like crazy for like all these things that, anyway, back to
Yeah.
your question.
So my questions is easy. I want to continue a little bit and then turn on to the local thing. I want to ask you: Democrats want to change the constitution. The Biden so many times told us that version of the constitution is not modern. It's very old. It doesn't work. We have to change it. We have to, cut some amendments. So, for example, Second Amendments. So he mentioned so many times. He is already cut in the. In fact, he's cut the First Amendment because we don't have a freedom of speech. When people lose the job because of their opinion, and so when we banned in a social media, when we got no Republicans strong social media outlets, I think this is not a freedom of speech anymore. But what do you think about that statements about change the constitution? Because we all know how important is that to keep that constitution in this way, because that's fundament of the country.
I think the Constitution is really well written. It doesn't need to be changed. It needs to be read. Like I think it's kind of like the "Don't Say Gay" bill. I'm sorry, but if you read that entire bill, right? I think there are like 8 pages. There's not one word that says "gay" like, in there. So people have to start
That's
reading
why
some stuff.
probably it's supposed to be changed.
Yeah,
And
they
also
probably
no
want to
words
change it to put
Biden
that in.
and even Democrats or something. It was to say
It's
democracy, and
insane.
they always switch the meanings between Democrats, democracy, and who knows, maybe in November in 2022, Democrat Party, Democrat, that going to be changed for radical left, because the things is going on very fast, I think, very fast, because look at the situation. The radical left has already make a lot of rules for Democrats in their party.
I think so. I mean, I if you want to look at like how many moderate Democrats there are right now, you can look at the ones that aren't running again.
Yeah.
you know, I think like 40 some of them announced that they would not be running for office again. I mean, these are the people who know that what is going on inside the Democrat Party is just going to get very extreme. And instead of having to answer to those questions, they'd rather just term themselves out. you know. So I don't know what's going to happen. There are a lot of believers. There are some people who would, stand with the Democrat Party and be really loyal to it. And I admire that in people. because I think that at the end of the day, if this is not the constitution of the party, this is right. The constitution that has been written for the United States is for the United States. Um, each party has their own constitution. So, so with that said, like I think that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I,
When it's
but
gonna be better? Because it's always getting worse and worse. Every time I visited a gas station, I see it worse.
it's getting worse.
And grocery store was also worst.
Oh, isn't that crazy? Yeah, I've never filled gas this much before in my life. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's insane. That's a lot of money to pay for that.
What
Yeah.
is the end of price for you personally when you say, okay, I'm not gonna use my car. I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna, do something, but it's very expensive for me. I cannot afford it myself.
Well, according to our transportation secretary, he said everybody should get an electric car, right?
But it's
Just go out,
always
just
expensive.
go out and get an electric car.
Even tires for the car, it's
It's
just
petroleum.
produced, yeah, for petroleum, and we got shortage of that. If he's talking of the electric car, what kind of wheels is gonna be? Wooden?
Wooden ones. Wooden ones. Oh no, we could be cutting down trees. Okay.
Nobody cares about that. Even if nuclear energy started very clean energy of the world, I think things gonna happen. But
No, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and people are not shaken up and going like, "Hey, that doesn't make sense." I think like I love your show because like you ask the critical questions that require critical thinking. It's not like just
that's our,
following
not
the
mine.
narrative.
We do it together, and also our
Yeah,
viewers. Yes,
yeah. And it's like it's a good platform for people to ask and like be curious because like everybody has a different opinion, and I'm not saying anything I'm saying is like absolutely right or absolutely wrong. Like to some people it's right and to some people it's wrong. Like I didn't believe in mandating masks and vaccines, for example, right? I don't believe in mandating until now. I don't believe them. It's like, but that's because I believe people will make the right choices for themselves and they shouldn't be told what to do, and that's it. But do I think that they're good? Yeah, they're good. You know?
American companies send the letter to Biden to ask him to stop mandate and even testing for the passengers because it's already time to
I know.
stop it. Yeah. Yeah,
No, and it's insane. It's like this is how funny it is, right? Like you would have a vaccine passport that you had taken all 3 shots of your vaccine. You could still test positive for COVID and still board the plane. What difference does it make?
absolutely no difference.
Exactly. So like I don't know why people are making a big fuss about it, and like they are probably among it and they don't even realize, or maybe they have the immune system for it and they don't realize. So I mean like we just have to be careful and watch out for ourselves and protect ourselves. Keep This is something that's never been taught, right? Like why don't we start protecting ourselves and like building our immune system up to be healthy? That would actually avoid you a lot of diseases including cancer. So, anyway, okay, so
Okay, what's the plan? Tell us, because it's August. It's already
ooh,
in the backyard. It's end of the March. What's the step by step we have to do right now? Tell us.
okay. First of all, let's say right, everybody knows now I have a Republican opponent, so I'm going to need a lot of volunteers. I need a lot of anything that you can volunteer on. We have like social media, we have IT, we have if you're good at writing, communications, like help me support me with the emails, support me with the social media postings. Um, help me find new channels to the whole point is to get in front of a people. The only reason why my opponent will beat me is because his name may be more familiar to more people than I am. And because I am just a normal, common person, on the street who wants to make a difference in my country and in my state. So, um, but that alone itself doesn't allow people to have that name recognition. I need that name recognition. If you're good at marketing, if you're good at anything, like please volunteer. Um, if you can't volunteer or you could volunteer and you would like to donate money, like, any amount is not too small. Like, you want to donate $20, you want to donate $5, I don't care, like whatever it is, like the more people come in together and show your power and support behind me, the better. The website is actually World Wide Web, www.linsu.com. And if you want to go straight to the donate page, just slash donate. I see some people here. Alice Williams, thank you so much. Yes, there are false talking points, and I'm glad you find it refreshing. Thank you. Taranu, thank you so much. Thank you too for listening and being here. And Ella, nice to see you again. Yeah, thank you. This is really great. Yeah, I'm really here, and if you have any, you want to volunteer, you want to support me in any
Check if
way.
your web address is right on the screen.
Yes, it is. It is correct. Yeah,
And
that's the
also
website on the
email
bottom.
address. You got email address and somebody can
Yes,
contact
that
with
one's
you
the
over
email
email.
address, and you can, like, send me any questions, any things you want to, like if you find dirt on my opponent, you can email it to me. No, I'm kidding. No, but for real.
Yes, for real.
For real, if you find dirt on my opponent, send it to me right away. Um, no, it's great to be here. It's great to be with you, and like, to really like have you get to know who I am and what I stand for, right? So, I believe in principle and policies over party and personalities. Yeah, it sounds so cliche, but I mean, like, there's lots of people out there who look great, who sound great, and like who have done terrible things for our country. One was one of a former presidents, like back, before President Trump. Um, we he looks perfect on paper, right? And the things that he's done is just detrimental. Like, we know that the reason why, what is happening right now in Europe is also a source that had happened from him legislating something in the past. So anyway, I don't want to get into another rabbit hole, but I just wanted to share with you that, like, I am looking for a lot of volunteers. If you know anyone who is interested, right, just send me an email and or come to our website and sign up, so that whenever we need something, or we'll look in that database and we'll contact you and get you hooked up and find out what you can do for the campaign. Um, a lot of manpower, a lot of money that is going to be needed. And of course, like always, your support, like listening in and like really being an advocate and sharing with people about me. If you want to sign up to like have lawn signs, in your window or anywhere in your house or whatever, um, palm cards and whatnot. You want to come help me knock on doors. I'm going to be knocking on doors, and like Sunny Isles, there's a lot of condos, so we might run into a lot of issues with that one. If you have any ideas on how to get into your condos, like let me know. I mean anything at all. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now so Nick can take over.
But that's okay when you're just sharing what you're gonna do, what is your campaign is gonna be step by step. Do you have any meetings in your schedule with some people, the local people who your voters, and what the issues you're gonna raise up about the local territory you're going from the representative Florida?
Well, I don't have any. I'm supposed to have a coffee meet, right? But actually, I was just speaking with somebody about that this morning. We're gonna have like at local different places, like from north to south, like Aventura, Sunny Isles, all the way down to Miami Beach. We're
Hmm.
going to have like little coffee meetings. So that could be live and in person. I mean, if you guys want to email me, whoever emails me first, like I can go patronize that restaurant, that coffee house. I prefer like a local business so we can support them too, so that way, like, of course, assuming that they do, they're not going to kick me out for being Republican. If you know any conservative friendly coffee houses, let me know, right? So that I can go and patronize them instead of getting kicked out of something else. It has happened. Like, we've had meetings. Your face is turning red, but there were meetings
That's
that
why
we.
we normally prefer have a meeting on the parking lot.
Oh, oh my god! You know what I mean? It's
Hope, hope,
crazy.
hope no rain вообще.
It's crazy because like we would all gather and go there, and then all of a sudden somebody finds out that we're like, Republicans or something, and they would like, no, we reserve the right to serve.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's funny. So parking lot, Ella, is when she said it's a good idea. Did she mean the parking lot meeting?
Yeah, we got some meetings before in the parking lot. So on the last one in the restaurant, you remember that meeting, right?
Yeah, yeah,
With us.
yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That was like actually is one of my favorite Greek restaurants, and I didn't know that. When I got there, I was like, "Oh my God, I know her!" Like I know the owner. I didn't realize that because I met her at a meeting. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have one there, right? Greek coffee's not so bad.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and also
yeah,
maybe other place to make it closer to people who lives, far away from that place for that
yeah,
cafe to another one.
yeah.
Because the people are lazy to spend some more than 10 minutes to reach that other place to have a meeting, so why not? So we're completely ready to got some meetings with
Hmm.
the live broadcast to share our opinions, what we're doing right now and what we're gonna do, what's the plan is, because we need to know what the plan is, because to be ready, to be
Yeah.
prepared, because like you mentioned, our last before conversation, what nobody knows what for example, mail ballots got more power than you got personally after that, and you have to know this, and we have
Hmm.
to register ahead for the some elections, for example,
Yeah.
and make sure you're in the list when you came for the water pool. You just have to know what you are in, and you
Hmm.
got right to vote, and everything is correct. You have to call, you have to check out, everything is good, everything is prepared for my visit. Is it my ballots okay? Do you see my personal information inside? And so you have to make sure everything is great and good to go. And
So remember that I just want to add a little bit on more onto voter integrity, right? The more informed and the more knowledge you have about the process, the better. Right now, we cannot do anything about all these mail-in ballots, right? Everything is going to start after this election cycle, which is 2022. So I would suggest that like you clean up your own voter roll, right? Like you know who lives in your house, you go out and find out what is registered there and make sure that nobody else is, using your address to register to vote. Just stuff like that. And also making sure that like if you have a mail-in ballot, make sure that your mail-in ballot is up to date. Make sure you're not registered somewhere else where somebody can send your email, your information or you as a voter in another house somewhere else. Like there's just so many things that if we each individually look after ourselves and make sure we're responsible and everything is under control, we don't really need the government for this. Right? Like the government is only as a safeguard for us for being like, if we had forgotten that we had lived in a certain place or registered somewhere to do something at some point. But like if you can actually clean this up yourself, like it would be so much faster for everybody and we can ensure that this election has integrity. Because this is the problem that we're having. If you guys saw the voting in Broward that had happened, these people lost their election because of the mail-in ballots. And the mail-in ballots didn't come in till later. So you can imagine, right? I mean, like there's a joke going on. They said, "Well, how can we know how many mail-in ballots we need until we know how many how many votes we're missing?" So, if you think about like if you think of it in that way, then oh my gosh, like we got to be really really strict and tight and like really tighten up our screws in terms of that. Be on the alert for that. Um
also if you
the worst thing is like you don't want to have an election be lost because of mail-in ballots. And this is where I'm talking about like this is where the Democrats are so skilled at. And I'm not saying like they're making up ballots. They may have ballots, but the fact that they have these mail-in ballots mailed out to everybody and they can go back and get those ballots back in. I mean, we have a lot of mail-in ballots that we don't send back. But Democrats have their mail-in ballots that are sent back. Right now, what I'm trying to advocate for is I'm trying to make sure that like whatever mail-in ballots that were sent out, the number is announced in the beginning. There's no way that you can actually have more mail-in ballots back than the ones that you send out. So we have to see what that percentage is. But if they don't announce that, and they're not transparent about that number, then what can we do, right?
Nothing, especially when you know already you are Republican or you Democrats. Of course, they started counted Democrats, but yes, mail ballots. So another the last topic in our today's show, I want to talk about the Democrats want to cut transparency. They don't want us to come to discuss what they about the laws for the local laws. The good example, Sunny Isles, Donna Goldman, she decided in the last meeting to force the law, but the no people who comes for the public hearings, for example, to make everything without
Public
citizen
knowledge.
public knowledge, without the even they know what they're discussing about. This is a horrible thing. That's very horrible thing, and the all Democrats wants to do the same because it's the same agenda. Let's talk about this a little bit.
Okay. So I think that the lack of transparency in terms of trying to legislate a law and trying to pass something. Now, especially if like there has to be, substantial amounts of fighting on both sides, and also like the people that we rep. So this is why local elections are so important, right? I mean, I think you guys have 5 commissioners,
Five.
right, and a mayor.
Four and one mayor. Yeah,
Okay,
four
4 and a
plus
mayor.
mayor. Yeah,
Okay, so
it
4.
five at all,
Okay, 5 total.
including her.
Got it. Okay. So basically, like, all it takes is 3 votes, right, to pass something.
Yes, but
Yeah.
just only one city commissioners not under control of the Goldman.
Yeah. So then you only have one person who's fighting to the death right here,
Yeah,
right?
just only
Because they have
Jesse.
to like make sure that they get 2 other people. And this is why I say it's very important to balance it out, right? To balance out the people that when you vote for them. Usually if they're appearing on one slate, it's not a good idea. That means that like they're all going to vote in one way. Um, uh, no, I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with Mayor Goldman doing that, right? I mean, I think there should have been enough sufficient announcements. Now, I don't know what you're talking about particularly, so I'm just going to talk about it in general. Like if there was something that like was arranged, scheduled for a date, and nobody knew about it, or nobody showed up, and then like, oh, okay, let's get this signed, and all right, done, vote, okay, done, like that, then definitely that's a big no. At least that meeting should have been recorded, and if it was recorded,
It
and if
was, and it was, public access to that
hmm
video. And Malka was there. She was there, yes, and she told about that situation, and she got a speech on that, and she said, "So we are people. First of all, this is what in our constitution start with these words, and so what you're gonna cut us? What we're gonna do for us? We're gonna." Uh, just do the thing which is like a USSR, like a Soviet Union, in when I escape from. You're seriously? This is United States. You're gonna just cut our publicity. We cannot just take action on that. We cannot just see what's going on there. We cannot be a part of that. Are you seriously? And so she just said, "Oh, okay, so we'll just discuss about it a little bit later." So, but anyway, that's what Nancy Pelosi told before in the Congress floor. But this is the very long page. It's more than 2,500 pages. You can read it after that. Just vote for this, and you can read it after. This is the same.
oh my god, so true.
But this was real. It's just looks like a comedy, but this is bad comedy really. Because if I see it's going on here, I just I have no idea where I located. I just like in my nightmare. I back to Russia. You know, it's
Yes.
terrible.
I was I was about to say, it's like, it's you're signing over your life, and you're signing over a blank check to somebody, and you're gonna have faith that they're gonna put in the right amount, which is $15. But no, they put like 5,000, right? Like, that's what ends up happening every time. So like, always know what you're voting for. Always know what they're voting for. And I think if there's enough disagreement inside of in I'm not sure about each city's law, right? So different cities have different things. Like, you could recall something, or you could call into order to have that voting, or that law, or that bill, or that statute be re-voted on. I think that you'd have to ask your city attorney for that, and see, like, what can we do to make sure that we repeal this law if we don't agree with it. And it might take some petitions from the citizens and the people in the city, whoever lives in Sunny Isles Beach, right, to sign something like that. Yeah.
And always remember, guys, we are the people. That's what the United States is based on. Because
Yep.
we are the people, we have to contact all representatives we are voted for and ask them what's going on. Send them emails, a lot of emails. Try to contact them and ask what we are moving to, what the next step is, why you supported this law or that law, and what is going to be next for us if we're going to be next. I mean, the situation is, moving very fast, and we have to do everything to make our space between us more comfortable and more understandable. That's
Yeah.
why.
No, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Russia, right? But or in wherever you're from. In Thailand, we look up and cherish, like, the politicians, right?
Mhm.
When I came here and I realized, like, wait a minute, according to our constitution, our elected officials are serve us. So I just want to remind you, I don't know where you're from, but from Thailand, I always look up to the politicians, and, like, they are bigger than better than me, right? They are going to dictate how my life goes. But here in America, we don't do that, which I love about this country. Like, these elected officials, including what I want to be in the future, is here to serve you. Just keep remembering that. Like, if they are not answering your emails, they're not answering your calls, there's something wrong there, because that is their job. They are representing you. So
Yeah.
make sure that they respond to you, and they are talking to you about what it is that you're unhappy about. And, get with your city attorney, find out, like, what are these laws that have been legislated, or what have been, signed into bill, or whatever, into statute. Like, make sure that, you can go in and cause and make a difference in that, because you could. There's nothing set in stone. The only thing that's set in stone is our constitution, and we live by that. So, mhm.
Yeah, that's right. Saints can always remember we are the people, and God bless America.
Yes, and bless everyone.
Thank you, Lynn, so much for your
Don't forget
time
to
and for
sign up
coming.
for me, okay? I
Yeah,
would love
sure.
to have you guys sign up, volunteer. I need a lot of volunteers. I need you. We're going to be an army out on the street, knocking on doors, letting people know that, like, there are going to be good politicians in the future. Anyway, take
And
care.
only this way we can change the things. Really, we can change the
Yes,
thing.
absolutely.
There is no
Absolutely.
other way to change it.
No. Yeah.
Thank you, Lynn. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you,
Bye. Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.